Welcome back, everybody, to another live stream. If you're living in North America, then it's probably trainer season, so that means lots of kind of long, boring hours, spinning on zone 2. And one important thing you should do this time of year is make sure you have a good fit, so you're not injuring yourself with any kind of repetitive stress injuries. So I thought it would be a good time to talk to Justin and Jesse, our friends from MyVeloFit. If you've not heard of them, it's kind of a web-based app that allows you to do bike fit from the comfort of your own home using a phone or a cell phone. But before we talk to them, just want to remind you guys, it's the holiday season. If you're looking for a stocking stuffer, definitely check out the merch store. We've got our Party Pace grips, as well as some patches and pins, and everything's upside down today. These are the things that literally keep the lights on, as well as our lovely Patreon supporters. So with all that said, let's meet Justin and Jesse from MyVeloFit and figure out how you can get a bike fit from the comfort of your own pain cave. So welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us, Russ.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Sweet. I'm going to assume that a lot of people are kind of new to MyVeloFit. Can you just give us a brief overview of what it is exactly?
Yeah, so we are, as you said, a web app, and we basically let you fit your bike at home. So we use computer vision and artificial intelligence to help people basically take video of themselves riding and analyze their position, and then we provide recommendations on how to improve their fit based on their mobility and riding goals. So, in sum, that's basically what we do, but I'm sure we'll get more into it.
Yeah. So in like big, super big, broad strokes, what does a person need? So they need a bike. What are some of the other essentials?
Bike, trainer, or rollers. We get that question a lot. Some way to ride in one place. A cell phone with a camera, pretty much anyone will do. Ideally a tripod, but a friend or some way to prop up your phone and record yourself. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Internet connection.
And internet connection. Yeah. So the workflow is set up your bike on the trainer. How much time? Like 30 seconds of footage, of riding footage?
Yeah. So we're down. This might have been something that changed from the last time we tried it, but we're down to 10 seconds. So we usually say 10 to 20 seconds is best, but it all gets cropped down to 10 seconds.
Okay. And then you upload that, and then the computer does its magic, and then it makes some recommendations.
Yeah. Video goes off to the cloud about 1 minute to 90 seconds later. In general, you get your results back, depending on internet connection, and then, rinse and repeat.
Right. Cool. So who is this for? Is this for people that have never had a fit before, or people that have had a fit, or, who do you guys imagine using your software?
Yeah. So we've got a pretty broad spectrum, and, who we imagine and who uses it is, has some overlap, but it's not always the same. We say it's generally for people that are enthusiasts and interested in fit a little bit. So they've got some willingness to tinker. So it's not necessarily for the person that has no idea what a bike fit is. And it's also not for the person that has had multiple professional fits and wants a replacement for that, though we have lots of people that are also kind of just like to tinker with their fit at that end of the spectrum as well. So it's really for people that are invested in their fit, across that broad range.
Right. And also people that aren't like afraid of loosening a couple bolts and moving the saddle, and hopefully having some spare stems laying around.
Yeah, prerequisite is being able to adjust your own bike, but we think that there's lots of great resources out there to kind of like yourself actually to tackle those things.
Yeah, and we do have a lot of people who kind of they do say that they kind of learn what they have to do along the way too. Right, it's something that can inspire them to make those adjustments on their own because they didn't even know they had to make them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way I've used it on the channel is, I get a ton of different bikes to review, and I use it to kind of ballpark a fit, just so it's like I'm not doing something that's, obviously wrong, but I'm just not seeing it for whatever reason. So I love it for that, just because, I look at like maybe 20, 30 bikes a year. And it's a good like streamlined way to at least get in the ballpark.
Yeah, and I think there's that kind of touches on one thing, and we won't go too deep into this, which is that not everyone doesn't have one specific position that they're looking for. There's kind of like a range of acceptable positions that will work, biomechanically, and then you've got to kind of figure out what feels best for you within that range. So there's always an element of rider input there. So yeah, we really try and help people get to that range as quick as possible, and then let them fine tune from there forward.
And it's exactly like you say that, like, sometimes there's just something off, but you can't figure out what it is. And so, getting everything kind of into those ranges is a good starting point. And then at least you're in the ballpark and you can adjust from there.
Yeah. And you guys give options, right? When like someone first signs on, they can kind of choose, I believe it's like 3 different options, depending on how aggressive they want to be. So people can kind of self-select like what the fit's going to accomplish.
Yeah, so we feel pretty passionately that the rider has to be at the center of every bike fit, and most Jesse's been bike fitting for over a decade, and we have lots of other bike fitter friends, and that's really the key to the whole process. So it starts with mobility assessments, and I'll touch on what you get to, which kind of helps tailor how we're going to make recommendations. And then when you're setting up your fit goals, which is what you want out of your fit. So I think you talk a lot about obviously the non-competitive side of cycling, which tends to lean towards a more relaxed fit. And so we have our kind of comfort focused fits for people that are looking for that. And then we have a balanced fit, and then a performance oriented fit goal that you select before you go through the process. So that really helps us tailor the recommendations to what the rider's looking for.
Mm-hmm. I know as a user, it's kind of fun to go bounce between the different styles just to see how they feel different, and that's one of I think the beauty of the software is, you have time to experiment. It's at your leisure, at your own leisure.
And you're not paying $300 a session to experiment with positions.
Yeah. So someone that here asked a pretty good question right off the bat. Happy Biker asked, must be clipped in?
Not necessarily. With everything, and there'll be, if you put your foot on the pedal in a different position, it's going to change the measurements. So you want to limit the variables. So that's why we like having a camera, or at least a reference of where your camera is and where your trainer is. So when you go back and you take another video, it's the same thing with not being clipped in. You can do it not clipped in, but if you put your toe on the pedal one time and your heel on the pedal the next time, it will make for a big difference. But talking about experimenting, you can do those two things and see how it changes your measurements.
Yeah. I'm solely a flat pedal rider these days, but I feel like I use like the bump of my big toe to kind of register against the spindle. So it's not like I'm putting my foot down randomly every time I ride. I do have kind of like a registration mark that I feel like I can hit pretty consistently.
Yeah, I think most riders that ride with flats, you end up positioning your foot pretty consistently over time. You get a feel for it. It's just like anything on the bike. It's just going to feel off if you do it the wrong way. In my earlier days where I rode flats more on the mountain bike, that that's the same thing. I wasn't riding on different parts of my foot, but
so let's talk about some of like the limitations of it. Like we should probably set realistic expectations for folks. Like where, what are some of the headwinds that the software can run into?
So I mean, the one that we got yesterday was somebody in front of their big screen TV watching the World Cup and recording a video, and it was having trouble deciding which person is trying to measure. So there's the biggest limitations always come down to, the video setting. So, low light, low contrast, other people in the background.
Yeah. And I was going to say, if we talk big picture, there's, and we get these questions a lot, which are things like, we obviously can't see inside your shoes. So, as compared to some like a professional fit where you're spending 3 hours, like we can't see if your arch is collapsing inside your shoe. Some of the more nuanced positions, like in terms of hand positioning, wrist roll, like those are still limitations of the software. saddle tilt, we can't see through your leg. So we currently provide resources in the form of like blogs and articles to help people kind of navigate those, but those are still, big picture limitations of what the software can and can't do.
Yeah. So someone asked here, which I've been asked too, is does the AppFit also fit cleat positions? Is that something that you guys are capable of doing with existing software?
No. It's funny, our most popular blog post is one on cleat position. So we don't have any references at the moment for setting, like using computer vision to set up cleat position. But we can guide you. And again, that's one of those ones where the right cleat position might not be, the same on every bike every time you ride. So it's again like a ballpark thing a lot of the time. So we kind of give you the tools to figure that out on your own.
Yeah. This Charles here asks, will it work for alt or flat bars?
Yes. So we kind of glossed over this. So we have different fit profiles for a variety of bike types. So we've got, our gravel and road are based on drop bars, and then we've got MTB, hybrid, TT tri, all, and spin bikes as well. But alt bars are kind of an interesting one. They put you, you could probably go a lot of ways depending on the bar. But we would say, like for flat bars, we would generally push towards maybe an MTB. But you could try the MTB and the hybrid positions and see which one kind of jives, with the MTB being a little more like aggressive, so a little longer position in general.
Yeah, I used it. I used the MyVeloFit for ballparking the hardtack, which is an alt bar. I mean, it's not like a completely swept back. It's more of flat bar with a 16-degree angle, and I feel like it put me in a good place. So Christopher Price asks, can we see the app in motion now? Unfortunately, I don't have any videos queued of it in use, but I do have a separate video on the channel where I go through the process, and you can see me go through the process, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll also we'll tell everyone. We also offer there's a free account, so you can test it out for yourself. No questions asked, to get a real feel for how it works. Yeah.
Let's see. So I think one of the things that we spoke about the last time was it being a tool for other fitters. Because in some ways it can't be, it's not a one-to-one replacement. There is something about the human touch and seeing various angles and having access to a deeper library of tools. But for a fitter with an existing business that maybe wants to work with a remote client, this could be potentially a tool. Have you guys seen that play out?
Yeah, so we have a few people doing that. We'll be totally open that the back end for them right now isn't the most designed for taking videos from other, or managing a remote fit, but we do have people using it that way. But we also have bike fitters in shops or at physiotherapists and stuff who use it as their motion capture. And so we have a separate profile for them where they can manage users, because we get a lot of the people ask us, can my wife and I share an account? And while there's, technically nothing stopping you from it, when you dial it into your specific mobility and your riding style, it doesn't really work to then just run somebody else through, because they're going to get recommendations tailored to you. So on our fitter profiles, it lets them manage multiple customers. And all you really need at that point is a video. So if they send you a video or if they're in your studio, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I'll add to, we've got fitters using them in different ways. I think there's still a big group of fitters out there that are, there's technology heavy fitters and technology light fitters, we'll call it. And we've seen a big uptake by, we'll call them the technology light crowd, because what it does a great job is kind of taking snapshots of the before and after and really helping them explain to their riders what all the adjustments they've worked them through have done. So that's been one source of fitters kind of bringing that on board. The other, like you said, virtually, some of them is are checking in with clients more frequently, because that's always been one of the challenges, is that fits some people get a fit once, some people get a fit once every 5 years, none of which are frequently enough based on how often our bodies usually change. So we've got fitters that are using them to kind of check in with clients, like, hey, send me a video, let's see what things look like. Maybe it's time to come back in, or no, like everything's looking good. And it gives them some objective metrics, all the kind of key measurements, as well as the video that they can actually look at with their own eyes, obviously. So yeah, we've got a range of fitters using it in different ways, and also just getting them closer to kind of like what they think their target position is, so that they can really spend their time tweaking the little things, which is where fitters bring a lot of their value.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not spending, however long it takes attaching markers to them. Like the markerless motion capture is a big key there.
Yeah. We've got two good, somewhat related questions, but can you mention how it works with multiple bikes owned by one cyclist? So this great case scenario for me, like I'm one cyclist by multiple bikes. Can you set individual bike profiles, or how do you transfer it from bike to bike?
Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, so we have the ability to do a different profile for each bike. So if you have your road bike, your time trial bike, your gravel bike, your mountain bike, or multiple road bikes, you can set a profile for each bike. So you'd call one bike your Trek Madone, or your one profile would be Trek Madone, and the next one would be like a long haul trucker, and then you've got your hardtail mountain bike. So you would set a different profile for each. And then the fit measurements, like the fit recommendations, are tailored to that bike type. And you might have, your cruising bike, your easy riding bike, and your race bike. So you could even set one with a relaxed profile and one with a performance profile.
Mm-hmm. So you'd go through the fit process each time with each different bike, like altering, okay.
Yeah.
So our friend Aaron here has a good question. If you have a bike that you've been fit on that you like, so this is someone that probably went to fitter, likes the fit, can they use the app to capture the fit and transfer it to another bike?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So yes, there's a couple ways, and we have a blog post on this. And I'm sure you've been there, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have been there, where you copy the measurements over, but the bike doesn't feel the same, because different touch points, different saddle, maybe different shoes, whatever it may be. So what you can do in that case, and we don't have an explicit kind of journey for this, but you can just take your body measurements on one bike and then set up the next bike to match those body measurements. So you would have one, you could do them in the same profile, or you could have them in separate fit sessions, and you would, you'd want the same knee angles and the same back angles and shoulder angles to match the fit.
Gotcha. So it's not like an automated, you'd have to take notes and then try to match it, or reverse engineer the fit.
Yeah.
Basically. So
yes, you can. There's maybe we should do a blog post on that, Justin.
Yeah, I think and down the road, this is not the first time we've gotten that question, which is, it'd be great to be able to take a picture or a video of one bike, and then it tells you, hey, these are all the adjustments you need to make to bike number 2 to make it feel the same. And I think kind of what Jesse was getting at is that if you line up all the measurements kind of in a more manual fashion, and then compare fit videos on both, that'll help you line up the functional fit a lot better. So it can be used that way.
Cool. So let's see. Carmine asked, I think we touched on this a little bit. So right now the videos only keep the side view into consideration. What about front and rear? That's tough. I mean, you've only got one angle to work with.
We've got this in our prep document for everyone. Yeah. We knew that question was coming. So thank you for falling into our trap. No, I think it's pretty highly requested from us, and we understand why people are looking for that. One of the reasons we've hesitated so far is that we want to make sure the recommendations we give like are reasonably accurate and are sending people in the right direction. With the side view, we're pretty confident in that. Like we understand that pretty well. There's obviously lots of nuance there, but for the most part, it's easier to provide meaningful and positive recommendations. With the front and or rear view, there's a lot more unseen elements that can be going on. So it's one thing to say like, hey, your knee's not tracking that well. It's another thing to say why and how you should improve that. And then things like cleat wedging, and I can let Jesse talk more about this, I had mentioned kind of like we can't see inside your shoes, so we don't know what's going on with the foot. So that's one of the big reasons we've hesitated to go that way so far, is because it's complex. But Jesse, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, as they say, right? So if you if you notice a knee tracking issue, that's the one where you really have to dive into why is that happening. Is it a muscle imbalance? Is it the inability to get to move properly in your position, which would be taken care of from the side view anyways. A lot of times you'll have knee tracking because the hips can't come over the top of the pedal stroke. Is it, as Justin said, is it wear and tear on the pedals? Is it arch support? Is it stance width? And there's not a lot of easy ways to tell that just with a video. A video is part of the process, but right now we're not there yet with being able to solve all those problems.
Mm-hmm. Here's a good question, because it affects me also. Is does the app look at both sides of the body/bike? It doesn't. Right now it's just one view. But if you have like one leg that's longer or one leg that's shorter than the other, would you capture the short side so you correct for, so you address overextension, or do you capture the long side? And is it sophisticated enough to do the motion tracking, whether you're facing left or right across the screen?
Yeah, so you can, and we have a lot of people take videos from both sides. So you can do both sides. Yeah, if you do have a leg length or an asymmetry that's causing you to move differently on either side, that kind of comes down to fit philosophy. So there's a lot of different ways again that you could kind of solve that. Mm-hmm. What I would personally do is fit to the short leg, and then wedge it up to match the other side, typically, but it's not always. Yeah, in person, that's what I might do. If you have a severe enough leg length difference, then I think this is a good point to kind of figure out what's going on. But that might be an in-person solution, or I deal with a lot of them. We do have the option on the app to work directly with me as well. So that is a case where it might be worth going into that option and spending some time working with me on that.
Yeah. So let's see, I'm going to cruise down here. Do you have any thoughts on short cranks from a fitter perspective? Shimano is now offering 160 millimeter cranks. This person likes 150.
Yeah, cranks are too long. There's just they're especially on smaller bikes. Anything below even a 52 usually will come with a crank that's too long. I won't call out any brands, but there's brands that will ship a 44 centimeter bike with a 170 millimeter crank. Mm-hmm. And it's madness. Where I think a 52 centimeter bike should come with a 165 millimeter crank. I think that we need to shift the entire market a little bit over. Mm-hmm. Like Shimano's doing a 160, they should be doing a 150. I've talked with product managers at other there's not very many other big brands that component manufacturers, but there's other ones that are working on 150s to go into production, and they know. The problem is that if the OEM, the manufacturers, if your trucks and giants aren't buying them,
Right.
there's not really a point in making them.
Yeah. Let's see. E-Bike Mike here asks, are there any discounts for bike dealers or discount codes for YouTubers? If you're a part of our Patreon, there's a discount, and a pretty good one for the pro level account. But do you guys offer any industry pricing for shops that want to dabble, or is this case by case basis?
Yeah, if you're a shop and you're interested, reach out to us and we'll work something out for you. But yeah, we're happy to have a chat, kind of go over your needs and figure out something that works.
Yeah, and that I'm not fully sure of that question, but for if you're a shop that's doing bike fit, we have an entire part of the site for that. But if you're looking to just try it, we can definitely set you up and get you going. E-bikes are always hard to get on trainers, though, a lot of the time.
That's
and
true.
I know this from wrestling a few of them on the trainers. So
yeah. Let's see. So you guys have been around for at least 2 years now? This is your second winter.
So we soft launched kind of end of 2020, really early 2021. Kind of quietly told some friends that the site was open. So yeah, and then things really picked up. Kind of, we got a little bit of press. I think it was it April? Anyway, March that year. So yeah, we're just coming up on. Well, I guess that's we'll be kind of 2 years, right around 2 years.
Yeah. Have you guys made any significant alterations or changes to the platform since launch?
Yeah. There's been quite a few things. I mean, the one that we kind of still are a little bit we're not doing a great job of yelling from the trees about is that we have a sizing app now too that will use a lot of the similar technology that we use for bike fit to help you pick the right bike for you. So you similar idea, you upload a video of yourself. This time it's standing instead of on a bike, and we take your body segment lengths, and then we will digitally pose you on bikes and tell you which bikes fit best. What we kind of underestimated how many bikes there are out there.
I was gonna say it's gotta be a massive database to keep track of.
Yeah, it should be a full-time job. So that's kind of been a hard thing to keep up with, but it's a great tool if you're shopping for a bike. And we do have some touring bikes on there, and a lot of gravel bikes on there. We have most of the major brands, and then kind of some of the secondary, and even kind of some of the tertiary brands. So we've done that. We've changed the back end quite a bit, so it's a little bit smoother. The UI is a little bit better, and a few features on kind of how we measure people. So less, I don't want to say it's more accurate, but like if there's we do a better job of cleaning bad data now that we would have gotten before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, less likely to get errors. And I think the other one, Jesse, is we spent quite a time. I think this is after you had tried it last year, Russ, on updating some of not as a result, but on updating some of our ranges. Coming into it, we had more limited data set, and then as we put more and more riders through the software, we could kind of evaluate their fit and see where people were maybe hitting at the end of the ranges where they shouldn't. So we've kind of we've tweaked a bunch of those just to give people better results in the end run and be like a little more inclusive at some of the extremes, which is great. So that's always something we're looking at and talking about, and making sure we're happy with what we see versus what the software is recommending.
Cool. I want to talk a little bit more about the bike finder thing, because that's completely new to me. So you stand, take a photo, it measures or draws lines of the body segments, and then what is it output, like a model and size, or?
Yeah, so it's a bit more, you take a video of you turning. We have an option to make it more accurate. We have little QR codes that you would attach to yourself to to better understand what your proportions are.
Right.
But it's not mandatory to have that, but it's it adds to it a little bit. And then we actually whereas a lot of, sizing charts out there will say you're this tall, so you fit medium, and you're this tall, so you fit this. What we do is we take your body segment lengths, and then we put you on the bike, and you can actually see it. So you can select the bike that you're interested in. So we rank the bikes, all the bikes in our database that match the type. So we only have road and gravel on there right now. So if you're looking for a road bike, we'll tell you the best. We'll rank the bikes and how they fit. Right. And then we'll give you a score on each bike, and you can actually change components. So you can put a different stem on, and it will show you if that improves the fit or if it makes it worse. We should. We'll run you through it one day, but it's totally free. We're not charging people for it. And you just upload a video, and you can help yourself find a new bike.
Right.
And it's totally unbiased too, right? Like if you look at any sizing chart, there's never a bike that you don't fit. Right. Because if you're 5'4" and it's 5'2" to 5'6", that bike fits you.
Right.
Well, that's not always the case. We know this.
How many bikes have you guys input into that database?
Jesse, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, we've got all the major brands. So I mean, there's got to be a few hundred models on there.
Yeah, and it's something we're growing all the time on as we can, and we've got options for people to request bikes too. So if you log in and there's a bike you don't find, there's a request a bike feature, and we'll try and get to those as fast as we can. Yeah, and I think and Jesse touched on this a little bit, which is interesting, and just from our experience, Jesse and I have both been in the industry for decades. The geometry doesn't always match the needs of, the geometry of the bikes that are made for the most part don't match the needs of most average riders. So a lot of times it's not necessarily even which size you are of bike X. It's just that the geometry of bike X doesn't match the position you want to ride in. So that also goes back to kind of our fit philosophy, which is you've got these different fit goals, and in our sizing, you've also got those fit goals. So if you choose a relaxed, kind of comfort focused fit goal, and you try and match yourself on a race bike, whatever, right, a Tarmac or a Madone or something quite aggressive, we're just going to give you a bad fit score. Or generally, so I'm not going to say every bike, there's some outliers, but it's not just going to say oh, you're 5'9", you're a 54, good on you. It's going to be no, this probably is not a good choice for you. So we're trying to help people make those decisions rather than just the sizing charts.
Right. Well, that sounds like an awesome standalone tool by itself. I might have to tinker with that and make a video, play around with it.
Quick count there gave me 260 models.
Okay. Yeah. We have we've had the folks from Bike Insights on a couple of times.
Oh yeah, they're great.
And I do not envy their job. Talk about the number of bikes they have to put in, because it's going back model years and all the individual sizes, and they're really good about capturing the smaller niche brands, of which there are just so many.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job.
So here's a question from Sean. Are there any fit considerations when using things like suspension stems or seat posts versus rigid components? Do you fit? How do you compensate for sag and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a good one. So on those, you would set it. I mean, excuse me. You would set it. You would already be sagging on it while you're doing the fit. So that's kind of the nice thing about having it. Now, if you're going to be installing one and you're trying to compensate, it's tough to anticipate how much sag there's going to be in those situations. But the considerations are that it's going to sag, and you'll just fit it as is, basically.
Mm-hmm. Let's
Justin,
see.
do you have anything else on that one? I think that's.
No, I think for the most part, the only thing I'd say is kind of some of the lower quality suspension seat posts can bob, and that can cause some issues. Whereas if you're I think like the Redshift and the Thud Busters and kind of like, I guess we'll call them the more premium suspension seat posts, they tend to be pretty consistent with just under pedaling forces, and then they really kind of come into effect when you hit bumps. So I think that they're going to give you pretty good results, but some of the less expensive ones you might find a little more movement. But I can't say we've got like a whole swath of data to say yay, nay.
Right. I think the bike industry is still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So Victor asked, is this only on the iPhone or Android, or will be ported to iPad and tablet? It's kind of platform agnostic, right? Because it's run off the cloud.
Yeah.
So you can capture it on either an iPhone with a camera or Android device with a camera, and the computer or the processing happens up in the ether.
Yeah, so it's browser based, so you can use it on anything that runs a browser, basically. I know Chrome is kind of the go-to.
Yeah,
but there's others that mostly work.
We have a slight bias, which that we do have a built-in video capture, which only runs on Safari. So
okay.
That's our only bias technology currently. So we've got things in the works, but right now we're one of our goals is to make sure we provide services to everyone. So we're always kind of making sure we have access to the widest range of people.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a fan of MyVeloFit, Charles. Hi, MyVeloFit rocks.
Charles.
Thanks,
hey, Charles.
So what was the, like during COVID, a lot of people picked up the bike. What did you see, like a big explosion in users signing on?
Yeah, well, I mean, we launched during COVID. One of the motivations for this, we had started it before COVID, but my fit studio was locked down in COVID, so that's kind of what gave me the extra time to work on it, which was nice on one hand, but also difficult. No, so I mean, we've just seen kind of continued growth since we launched, and I think it's partially people just talking about it, word of mouth. We've done some events this summer as well. So it's hard for us to say if we've noticed the bike boom because we kind of launched in the bike boom.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of we're a child of COVID. So
how is this winter shaping up, like relative to that winter?
Yeah,
good. Yeah, good, Justin.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Yeah, it's going well so far. We're really excited. It's just been more. Yeah, and Jesse was just mentioning we got out and did a bunch of events. Like, we're always amazed by how many people have at least heard of us, considering how new we are, and we kind of see ourselves, with a small company from Canada, and so it's great that kind of the word's getting out there, and there's more and more people. We're just about to cross 30,000 users.
Oh, nice.
Which is pretty exciting. That's when we started this, I don't think we had any real numbers in mind, but that it's big, and we're it could be over 60 countries, but definitely over 50 countries. And that was something that all struck us from day one, which was like the reach and how many different places around the world don't have access to fit and are interested in riding their bikes, which is who doesn't love riding a bike?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's a great, like for me, if you live in a place that's kind of rural and there's not a good fitter, or, you just don't get on with like the bike shops in town, and you have some biking knowledge, this is a good way and you've had a fit in the past, is a good way to kind of tune things up. And, again, just get you in the ballpark so you're not hurting yourself, which is ideal.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, going back to why we started things was just, both Jesse and I knew the value of fit from two different sides of things. Myself being, I've worked in shops, not as a fitter exclusively, But talking people through buying bikes, and also as a coach and mountain bike instructor, and just seeing how many people suffer, their riding experience suffers because their fit is so far gone. And they don't necessarily need a 3-hour session with a professional fitter to get 80% of the benefit, right? Like they need to get most of the way there. And then there's lots of people, like we're not out to replace professional fitters, right? Like we know we're their number one advocates and say like, great, if they're going to do a great job. But there's a lot of cyclists out there that just have no clue what bike fit is about, and we want to be that gateway, and then also help them check in on their fit more regularly, because it's not always practical for people to spend $300, $400, $500 every year to kind of check in on their fit, which is what it would cost you to see most fitters.
Yeah.
And I would add that as a fitter, when that person's coming in for their fit, I would rather them be in a decent starting position. I can do a lot more in that situation than I can if they're just completely like out to lunch in their position. Mm-hmm. And so there's so many things off that all I can do is get them into a decent starting position and then send them away, and then they'll have to come back. So at least when people come in, I do it all the time because I still do the occasional bike fit, but I've got a pretty long waiting list. So I'll say, hey, use this first, and then when you come see me, I can do more for you.
It's like triage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I know for some folks, like the notion of getting a bike fit is very intimidating. Some folks just, it's not for me. I don't race, I don't clip in. My shop is like this big scary road shop. This is like a tool to at least get in the ballpark. Very low stakes in your garage. You don't feel any judgment, and I think it's a great use for that.
Yeah, well, again, without being too shameless with our plugs, like we try and make it 0 stakes. So we offer a 30-day better fit guarantee. So if our advice doesn't work, because there are going to be people that it doesn't improve your position, it doesn't feel better, like we're going to give you a refund. So, at the end of the day, we're out there to help cyclists. We're not here just to, weasel our way into your bank account. Like,
So what's, I guess, like what's next for MyVeloFit? Is it just growing users, or are there new technology you want to incorporate?
Front video capture.
Front video capture.
I think eventually we'll have to have some form of front capture. It's definitely it's our number one requested feature. Mm-hmm. It's just what we need to do a bit of a deeper dive into what we're solving and how we're solving it.
Right.
I think one of our biggest challenges that we spend a lot of time thinking about and working on, and will likely be in any future launches we make. Well, there will be future launches, but I don't want to give too much away, is just kind of bringing the user's needs, even, digging a little deeper there. So, addressing specific pain points better. So kind of communicating which way people can go if they're experience X versus Y. Right now, we've got a lot of kind of explainers, and you can kind of parse through it and dig in, but it can be a bit time consuming, and it's still a lot of information, right? Like there's a lot to absorb in bike fit. So we'd like to make the process a little more user friendly for people that have specific issues, and also to dig a little bit more into what their actual needs are out of the fit. So I'd say a lot of that is just about, kind of tailoring our recommendations a little bit better to get people better results, more personalized.
Do you guys think you'll ever, kind of like dip into the hardware side, like offer like a movable stem that someone could rent? Like, because I feel like that might be a challenge where someone doesn't have access to 70, 80, 90, 100 mil stem. But if, they're serious and,
Yeah, we've talked about that. We haven't talked about it for a while, but we've talked about that. I mean, there's a few component manufacturers out there who do 60 or 30, 60-day guarantees on them. So that's usually what we'll do when people are asking. It's like, oh, well, I had to buy a stem and it took 2 weeks to get here, and then it was the wrong stem. So now I need another stem. And we understand that that's kind of an issue. It's an iterative process. So
Right.
sometimes we say, you need a 10 millimeter shorter stem, and then they go to that stem, and then the result might be it's like it didn't quite get them there.
Right.
So yeah, there are companies out there that do money back guarantees on their components. So for now, that's kind of what we send them to. Yeah, the world of shipping and receiving, I don't know
Right.
if it's there for us yet, but it's a good question. And yeah, I mean, saddles as well too, right? Like we have a note about throwing product at fit. It's not always the best way to solve a fit. But it can be, shopping for saddles, if you have the wrong saddle, can be a nightmare, because sometimes it takes 3 or 4 or 5 saddles
Right.
before you find the right one, and then they discontinue it.
Yeah. How much does one of those adjustable stems cost? Like, is it?
They're quite expensive. I mean, Salsa and Retool and Purely Customs, I'll make them. I think they're over $1,000.
Oh dang. Okay. That's a lot.
I think there might be one that's around in the 300 to 400 range. I mean, that's it's still not inexpensive.
Right. It'd be
Oh yeah, Purely it's 400.
Yeah, I might find one and link in the description just for people that want to nerd out on that stuff. At least point.
Yeah, definitely.
They're great tools.
Yeah.
People have spent more money on worse things. So
nice. So let's see. All right. So we've got about 90 people in the chat. If you guys have any questions for Justin or Jesse, leave it in the comment section. I'll be sure to pass it on. What else should people know about MyVeloFit?
Your saddle's probably too high. Well, I guess that's not about us, but it's kind of a thing we see so often is that, if we had to say 2 or 3 things about the positions we see, it's a lot of saddles that are too high, a lot of handlebars that are too low, bikes that are too aggressive, I think would kind of be the
stems that are too long.
Yeah.
That we might not be the right audience, but integrated cockpits are a nightmare.
It's the right audience here.
Yeah.
This is a safe spot.
I mean, they're probably, there's not a lot of people with integrated cockpits on their bikes, perhaps, but yeah, my heart sinks a little bit when we get an email saying, "Hey, you've told me to shorten my stem, and I have an integrated bar and stem." It's like, yeah, here, this is the $600 cockpit you need from Canyon.
Right.
Not to name names.
Yeah, sorry. It happens. They're great bikes. I'm not going to say anything, but a lot of integrated stems. So.
Yeah, and good luck with the internal cable routing.
Yeah, and with hydraulic disc brakes and internal cable routing.
Yeah.
And yeah, the other one, if we're just putting out random recommendations, is adjust your cleats, flatten your saddle, and if you've got drop bars, adjust your hood positioning to a reasonable middle ground before you start your fit. We get lots of people that get partway through, and then maybe we get an email address or an email and says, "Hey, like I'm struggling with this," or "I adjusted my cleats and now it's sent me back." And so we have that in our instructions, but again, there's a lot to kind of take in. So kind of setting that good baseline, that can make all the difference.
So
for the hood position, what does that look like? Is it just levelish or slightly pointed upwards, or?
Yeah, we've got a blog post. So if nothing, everyone should go check out our blog. It's called our Fit Academy. And yeah, generally it's just slightly upward is helpful for most people. Jesse, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, it really is driven by your torso angle and your shoulder angle. So kind of there's a point where the higher your handlebars are, you need higher hoods. And then like the lower and longer, you need higher hoods. Kind of if you look at your wrist, and actually I'll use my wrist that bends, is you kind of want to have a neutral wrist. So if you're like this,
right,
or like that on your handlebars, you need to adjust your hoods.
Right.
So you want a kind of a mostly straight wrist while you're holding your handlebar.
Gotcha. So sometimes
Oh, go ahead.
So sometimes the position that looks best for the gram isn't the best while we're riding.
Yeah. And then the big one that I would throw out there is to kind of work on your fit before you start buying things to try to get more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like do your fit, go ride for a few days, and that's kind of our big thing, is that you can go ride for a few days and then come back and revisit your fit, and then maybe you need a new saddle, because the number one driver of the saddle being uncomfortable is your position not being right.
Right. Cool. Let's see. You guys have any other questions in the comments? I'm gonna scroll through here. I feel like we covered quite a bit. You guys have anything else to add? What did we miss? We got who it's for, how people should generally use it, some kind of common questions people have.
Was that me? I think I just dropped out there.
Yeah.
I think we've covered all the basics. I mean, we're pretty reachable. So I would say, like, just reach out to us on Instagram, Facebook, or email support, and we'll get back to people. I think the number one thing for us is really just getting people thinking about their position more often. So, if you had a fit 5 years ago, check it again, think about it. There's probably things you've been ignoring that could be better. It can always be better. So that would be my number one advice.
Someone asked, do you have any SPD clip adjustment vlogs, or is that on the website?
Well, we talk about it in the Fit Academy post on cleat adjustment. I don't think there's anything specific. Like the adjustment mechanism might change from one cleat type to the other, but the philosophy is still kind of the same. And I think it would be like, if we had to use one word to describe it all, it'd be like neutral. Right? Like start in a neutral position, and then that gives you room to go from there. Like when we talk about the concept of fit window, where so your saddle height might have 10 to 15 millimeter height range adjustment, and you're still in your fit window. It kind of depends on the person. Or your handlebars might have a 2 centimeter. Your cleats might have a 15 millimeter adjustment window. So kind of our goal is to get you into that window and then empower you to kind of go from there. So our cleat blog kind of talks about getting that position for your cleats, and then our technology helps you get there on your fit.
Yeah. So are you guys is MyVeloFit full time for you guys now, or yeah?
Yep.
Cool. Congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it was I think it hit us a little sooner than we expected. In that first year we launched, we thought maybe we'd have a little more time to kind of get our way into it, but it got pretty full on pretty quickly. So we quickly had to make career adjustments to which is it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Is the biggest cost paying for the processing?
Yeah, it's pretty expensive, the processing. And then I mean, Justin has a master's degree, so to keep him around.
We also have very very talented people working on our on the technical side of things, like on the back end. So people are expensive, and rightfully so.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, the processing is up there.
Are you guys going to be at a Sea Otter this coming year?
Maybe.
We're working out our schedule right now. We realized how expensive it is to fly to events and stuff this year. So we're just trying to make sure we target appropriately. But Sea Otter would be great. We did, lots of people might not know there's a Sea Otter Canada, which we attended.
Okay.
This past year, which was a little closer to home. But Jesse and I would both love to make it to the real deal. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. What's the do you guys know the funnel through which people are finding MyVeloFit?
Oh, it's you. Yeah, you're doing it.
No, sir. Is it like the gram, or the YouTubes or just the other, like just earned media? Like, what's it look like?
It depends on the day, really. YouTube actually is pretty good for us. We've had we were really thankful for kind of yourself and a few other creators that like put videos up early days, and that they've been invaluable. We certainly get some people through Instagram. We don't profess to be social media experts, so I wouldn't say that's the biggest part of our funnel.
Reddit and a few blogs out there, like the Trainer Road blog has always been a feeder of people.
And then for formal media, like or traditional media, we've had a few posts there, and that's kind of, they've created some blips. But yeah, it's kind of a real mix.
Yeah. Cool. I'm always curious to see like how, when we interview folks or do a product review, if it like moves the needle at all.
100% it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it does. Well, I don't know if that's been the response you get from like other people you speak with, but for us, every time kind of someone with an audience talks about us, it certainly moves the needle, to varying degrees, depending on so many things. The internet is a crazy place, and the algorithms are fickle beings. So
yeah. Let's see. So there doesn't look like there's any other questions. So I might just take us home here a little bit early. But thanks, Justin and Jesse, for joining us in the chat once again. I'll put all the links to the website. So you've got a website, you've got the grams. Are there any other means through which people should follow MyVeloFit?
Yeah, if you're on Strava, we've got a Strava club, so come ride with us virtually, so to speak. It's really fun to see people from like all over the world sharing their rides, and after all, it's all about riding the bike at the end of the day. So that would be the last place.
Sweet. Well, thanks for your time. I'm going to take us home here. And thank you guys. If you're still in the chat, there's still 92 people in the chat here, sticking it out for the full hour. Good on you. Thanks for sticking around. If you guys like this content, definitely check out the merch store. This is the part of the live stream where I try to pay the bills. We've got grips, we've got pins, and more live streams to come. If you guys caught our previous one, we had Ron and Arya on. I went back and forth with Ron, aka Ultra Romance, and he had a good time. So we might do some Russ and Ron fireside chats next couple of Sundays. So definitely look for that. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, keep the supple side down.